Hi guys, and welcome to another video. We're here at Ratasum, and that's because we're about to do the final mission here in the Tarnished Coast, in the Asuran homelands, I guess you could call them now. They will become the homelands at least. So yeah, and then with the end of this, where we've actually completed all three of the starting arcs of Eye of the North, and we move on to the final arc, which is quite exciting. It's weird because it feels like we've done it quite quickly to me, but I also know that Eye of the North's taken far longer than any of the other campaigns did, despite being a bit shorter anyway, so it's quite odd. But we are finally here now, so this is going to be the end. Before we kick it off, we do have the Hero's Handbook to read from, just to remind us what exactly has been going on here in the Tarnished Coast. So this arc started off with the knowledgeable Asura, which is an overview of what Vek thinks about the destroyers. Vek is extremely concerned about the destroyers. His people were driven from their underground homes by these creatures. Now the destroyers have taken over the central transfer chamber, the hub of the many magical Asuran gates. He believes his fellow Asura with their superior intellect will come up with a viable plan to defeat the destroyers. Finding them, however, will be a challenge. After their exodus from the depths, many of the Asura settled along the Tarnished Coast. If we can't find a functioning gate free of destroyers, we'll be in for a long walk. Okay, so, and we did find them. And then we completed Ula's laboratory. So the Asura have strange methods of organising themselves. To complete difficult tasks, they form crews. Our crew's task was building a superior magical device called a golem to battle the destroyers. Before we could build the device, we needed the help of an Asura called Ula, who had squirreled herself away in the depths of her lab. After getting past our magical watchdogs, we had to use a little reverse psychology to get Ula on board. Vek is impressed, and he's acting a little less superior as a result. So yeah, that was when we very smartly implied that Ula was losing her touch, and she joined us. And then we met up with Gad and Livia, who where they were finding this bloodstone. So not all Asura are good-natured. To complete our project, we had to seek out a particularly acerbic little one named Gad. I've never read that before in my life. Named Gad, an expert on the bloodstones. Vek describes him as an egotistical, nasty, unpleasant, and insulting. That description actually compliments him a bit too much. Gad has been working with Livia, an agent of the Shining Blades. She was hoping to learn information that would help Kryta in its civil war, but unfortunately, she's had to put up with its insults along the way. Eventually, the two of them had a falling out. Livia now travels with us. Gad doesn't seem to care, but then again, that seems his nature. So Gad's joined us as well to come along. So we'll actually see Ula and Gad talking to each other a little bit in a minute, which is a bit of a shame, really. You don't see it that much. I was looking forward to seeing a lot of interaction between the two. It's like just one small scene. So we've got the crew together. Everybody's together. There's also Renk, of course, but he didn't have a mission associated with him. And we're going to go in and try and build these golems to help take out the destroyers and see how it goes. So we don't want to speak to Blim. Blim was for the other mission in Ula's lab. We want to speak to Mamp over here and finish off the arc. So it's a really good quest, and there's some pretty cool stuff to do with Vek in it as well, I guess. So I love the outfits of these Asura. That's so cool. I really hope we get to wear stuff like this in Guild Wars 2. But yeah, okay, so here we go.
Why me?
Mamp says, what are you standing around for flapping your gums? There's plenty of work to be done. Get Genius-operated living enchanted manifestation, or Golem for short. The Golem production site is almost ready. With any luck, our defences will be set up before the next destroyer assault. Are you ready to go there? I'm ready, I'm willing, and I'm able. So let's do it. So, before the battle.
Livia, I'm sorry about you and Gad.
I learned a great deal from him that can help Kryta. Tell me, have you ever heard of the Scepter of Ore?
Just stop yelling and look at my calculations.
I don't need to look at your calculations. I know it will work.
Well, the rest of us don't share your confidence.
What's the problem now?
This hack is telling me I don't know how to format a crystal array.
I'm trying to say that you run a greater risk putting the crystals in a serial pattern than in parallel.
You'll get twice the power this way.
That's too much power too fast. You'd flood the enchantment buffers.
Don't lecture me. I was formatting crystals before you were born.
Both of you, quiet! If you want to achieve anything, you have to stop squabbling.
Gad, the destroyers!
Now what?
The destroyers! They're coming up from below, hordes of them!
We're almost done with the golems, but we're not ready yet.
We can go hold them off.
Should I come with you?
Go. You're just underfoot here.
Remember, parallel, not serial.
Yes, yes, so noted. How do they expect me to get any work done with all these interruptions?
Oh, he's amazing. I love Gad, just the way they're so underhanded to each other. There you go. There you see the Golem Foundry is now kicking in. I've shown you this a few times already as we've been walking around, and now it actually kicks in. And now, once we complete this mission, when you actually come back out here, when you come back into the Riven Earth, this will always have this amazing animation going on with it. It's pretty cool. So yeah, Shock Horror, the Destroyers are going to be fighting us. There's numerous ways to do this quest. I'll show you just one that I'm hoping will work. I haven't tested it out. I have no idea what that's supposed to be in the middle of this thing, but it's a really cool machine, isn't it? I love it, it's awesome. So yeah, we saw a couple of things in the cutscene there. Livia talking about the Scepter of Ore, very mysterious artifact. That turns out to be quite an interesting mystery later down the line, but just do be aware that she mentioned that. And just we get to see Kif Croker as well for a little while. That's his only other line in in Eye of the North, but there we go. Okay, so we're going to be coming forward here, and this mission kind of comes in two parts. The first part's defending, the second part's attacking. So we've got the golem kiln temperature here. We need to protect each golem kiln as it heats up. Turns out the kilns are two huge golems of their own, so you can see them here. They're like the invincible golems we saw inside Ula's lab. So they're going to be heating up here. And essentially, this mission I have always, until very recently, and I mean like last week, always split on this mission. But actually, I'm not going to be doing that here because I think I've got an easier way. Anyway, so here we get this interaction between Gad and Ula, as I talked about before, which they're both stood here. Gad says, "Destroyer swarms are headed this way. Here's what we need to do. Protect the golem kilns as they heat up. Once they get to the correct temperature, Vex, a human friend here, can summon the magical brutes into battle. Brutes, the destroyers don't stand a chance against my magnificent golem," says Ula. "Your golems? These things would be worthless junk without my power source." Humph, Gad never lets anything like reality get in the way when it comes to claiming all the credit. "Enough arguing," says Soccer. "Here they come." So we actually get some actual conversations between us here. You can see Gad's getting owned. Basically, you get a golem kiln, and either Gad or Ula standing in front of each one. They will resurrect if they die, but it's your job to make sure the kilns themselves don't go down. And you've got to wait until this temperature thing goes all the way to the top. So yeah, because they're two kind of distant sections here that you've got to defend, usually you split your team 4 and 4, and that's how I do it. However, because I'm going to be relying on henchmen, which aren't great, and really bad heroes, which are honestly worse than the henchmen in my opinion right now, I'm going to be trying a slightly different tactic, which worked out for me when I was coming through here on Peter and Matt, where basically you just run and see which golem's being hit, and you just keep running from side to side to side, knocking out the destroyers as you go. And I haven't actually had any problems with it sort of in my very recent runs through, so hopefully it'll go okay. I mean, I'm not that worried about it. The team did okay in both of the quests I showed you the last 2 episodes, or the last 3 episodes really, because I had to split the Massart one in the end. But they did fine there, so I'm really not that worried about Golem. It could happen that I get completely destroyed. I mean, Gad's died already twice, and to be honest, I don't blame him. And I doubt Vec is too upset about it either. So we'll take these guys out and just keep running backwards and forward. I'm really not sure how much stuff I've got to say. This could be a bit of a weird episode, and it might end up actually fairly short. Well, I guess we're on 10 minutes already, so what I will do is just speed this up. We'll be running left and right if there's anything really important I feel like mentioning. I mean, there are various different ways of doing the mission, which I guess I can talk about. Some people say that you the best way to do it is to just not come into range of Gad and Ula like this, so their conversation doesn't happen, the bar doesn't appear, and the destroyers don't start to attack. And by doing that, what you can actually do is like run around the outside, if I'm remembering this correctly, and you can go and kill all of the destroyers that have spawned for the second part of the mission, where you attack the destroyers themselves with the golems, and you can do that and just send one member of your party back, and by doing that you can complete the mission really quickly in like just a matter of minutes, because you can be stood where the bosses spawn and just send one guy back and just knock out the boss instantly, and then you've pretty much completed it. As far as I'm aware, that's how that works. I've never tried that out before, but obviously there's a lot of speed bookers out there, as I've talked about in pretty much every single mission. They're out there, and you know, a lot of people enjoy doing that kind of thing. Other than that, though, really it's just you decide if you want to split or not. It's one of those missions, even though it forces you to split, it's like what I was talking about all that time ago at Sorrow's Furnace. I like the fact that you have to split, because it's actually one of those rare missions that, you know, when Zaishan bounties and missions came out, you got a lot of people playing pugs, right? And then people realised, oh, hold on, the rewards from this aren't that great anymore, and people got a bit bored, and it happened less and less and less. And this mission was like one of the last things you ever really saw people pugging for the Zaitian missions, just because it's one of those missions where it really does encourage you to play with others, and that's good in my book. I mean, in this game where slowly they've allowed us to have so many heroes and become so independent, and while I do agree with them letting us do that, there's so many people bitching about it when that update came out, and I really don't agree with that. Especially considering most of us just went around with a henchman anyway. But I'm getting off topic. I like that quests like this exist. And in fact, the next mission we're going to do, not tomorrow, the day after that, Heart of the Shiver Peaks, which I've already talked about a very little bit. That is really much easier when you've split up. To actually complete that is much harder when you do it on your own. Wow, would you look at that? I've actually ended up talking the whole way through it. I keep doing that. I keep thinking I'm going to have to cut stuff, and I end up not doing it. How long have we got? Well, see, we're only on 11 minutes. It doesn't actually take that long to survive against this thing. As you can see, it's not that dangerous, especially if you're using like spirits. The spirits really help me out because the destroyers will run along, and instead of aiming straight for either Gad or Ula, indeed the kilns themselves. Although I don't think the destroyers ever go for the kilns are really beefy. They take a long time to go down. I don't think that they ever really do that. I also noticed that the kilns are well, you can't see anymore, but they're dervishes, and that's kind of important later on. Anyway, so there we go. They can now produce golems. Check them out. So they've got this ball of energy thing here. Our next objective is to learn how to deploy them in battle. Shit, Gad's almost dead. Gad, crap. Oh well, he's talking despite the fact he's dead. He says, "Destroy swarms are headed this way. Here is what we need to do: protect the golem kills until they." Wait. Why is it saying? It's repeating the dialogue again. It's bugged out because he died, like at the end. Wow, it's not going to bug out the whole quest for me, is it? I've never seen this before, this little bug. Oh, Guild Wars, you stay classy, come on. Oh shit, oh no, here we go. I think it's done. Fight your way to the hive and destroy it, says Ula. The golems will overwhelm the hive if our hypotheses are correct. Enough arguing, here they come. Of course they will, I'm never wrong. Right, well, we've kind of had a bit of a bug there where it's mixed up the conversations. But we're going to go attack where the destroyers came and attacked us from. So we're going to speak to Sokka here, who's now going to follow us around. Kind of like the hidden gem of this mission, I think, because it doesn't really have any dialogue with any of these other Asura, but it's quite cool. So we're going to speak to Sokka. I can't tell if Sokka's a girl or a man. They all sound like men in the voice dialogue in this, but I don't know. Anyway, Sokka says, "Wow, this stuff is so cool. Toss me some work. I'm a team player. The golems are ready for deployment, Sokka. Hand me a beacon." So what we're going to do is grab a beacon, and when we drop the beacon, we're actually... Why is golem forging going up again? This is so weird, look. It's completely bugged out. It's not resending any destroyers, is it? This is mental. Oh dear, I hope it doesn't affect the end. Yeah, I've just remembered, I didn't speak to these guys. These have got some cool dialogue, actually. So Gad says, "You're lucky you brought me on board with this project. I shudder to think what might have transpired had you attempted this without me." Alright, well, whatever. And Ula over here says, none of them are particularly likeable. Ula looks like a pig. She says, "These golems should do the trick. If they don't, I hold you responsible." Alright, so basically what oh, that's why the golem forging was going up. When you take a beacon, they'll create it for you, and you can drop the beacon, and it will summon a golem for you, which should appear on the field momentarily. There you go. And you can only have 2 with you. It's a bit of a weird mechanic, actually. To me, it looks like when the mission was maybe first developed, you were supposed to be able to build up an army of them very slowly, but it's limited at 2 for whatever reason now. So we can grab our second one. Before I drop the second beacon, though, here is something that I've been talking about loads, and it's been on my notepad of big things I wanted to mention throughout the Let's Play, and it's kind of occurred to me it's not that big. But you know what I talk about with written languages and stuff constantly, and how there's this one thing that apparently can be translated of the Asuran language. Well, this is it. If you look on the beacon, it might be a little bit hard to see. You see these runes here? Supposedly, and to this day it still hasn't been done, supposedly these runes are legitimate ancient, come Guild Wars 2, ancient Asuran language, and they do say something, and they do mean something. How significant what they say is, I don't know. But the guy who invented the languages, and his name escapes me, and I feel a bit bad for that, but he has definitely said that this is translatable, and there is something is written here in Asura, but nobody's been able to do it. I don't know why. I mean, like we saw with the Path to Revelations, people found out about that cryptograph and all that stuff to translate stuff. I have no idea how somebody actually figured that out, unless it was just through trial and error, and that's not even the English alphabet, so I have no idea how you'd find out how to translate that Asuran beacon. But it's cool nonetheless. That's like one of those mysteries. It's one of those big mysteries for, you know, the real lore buffs that are still out there at the moment. Oh, I hate the way these things block so much. Are we dying pretty bad? We shouldn't be. Yeah, the quest gets a little bit harder now. As long as you've been able to split or move together and defend things, you're going to be fighting more dangerous destroyers. Like you will have noticed the destroyers were only pretty much just trickling in before. Now we're going to have some slightly more dangerous ones. These aren't exactly like the Tremors. They look like the Tremors, but the destroyers of lives. And we'll come up here and actually find the destroyer nest here. The nest itself, I'll talk about that when we reach it. But yeah, you just be careful not to over aggro if you want my advice here. And aim for the squishies. Not that any destroyers are particularly squishy, but yeah. The golems really do help. You'll notice these are called Golem 1.0s. I'm not 100% sure. These must be some of the first times golem technology for the Asura really becomes mainstream and they start to appreciate it a lot. Because the golems aren't really that well developed at the start of Eye of the North, but by the time it's over, the Asura see it as this massive thing that saved them from the destroyers, essentially. And it's really cool how you can kind of see, particularly from reading Ghost of Ascalon, and to an extent The Edge of Destiny, how slowly they begin to develop more and more powerful golems. There is a big story to do with that. As I mentioned, don't forget about this, but I was being really vague when we first got to the Tarnished Coast about Ula, Blim and Zin, those three Asura, the Zin being the one that we haven't met yet. There's a big story there to do with it, and Blim really is the star of the show eventually, to do with all that stuff, and we'll start to see that come through with the Warring Crier. And if you guys, a lot of you sometimes ask me like whether you should read the books or not. Here's my opinion on the books. I may as well just say it in the video because I end up typing it quite a lot. I think that both are really good stories. Both of the books are really good stories. In particular, Edge of Destiny's story is actually really good, and it could have potentially been a really, really fantastic book. But I think the quality of writing and the amount of needless fight scenes and stuff in Edge of Destiny, it's really ruined the book. So I think as a book, Edge of Destiny is not a very good book at all. It's actually kind of boring at times where there's so much, and it's rushed at certain areas and stuff. The story itself and all the stuff to do with Glint and all that, really, really good and really important. But the book itself, I don't think is really amazing. But being a big fan of Guild Wars and then the story, I would say if you're a big fan of it as well, I'd still recommend the book. But do be aware, it's very much your typical, oh, this is a book made about a game, so it's basically a shit tier book. However, as for Ghost of Ascalon, I think maybe the story, the guy didn't have, Matt Forbeck wrote that one, I think. He didn't have as much to work with. He didn't have such an amazing story. However, the book was written really well, so that's actually a decent book and quite a compelling story anyway. So I would recommend them both, but maybe Edge of Destiny only if you're really into the lore, because to be honest, you'll probably get bored, because even I was getting bored of the constant fight scenes and finding myself sort of flicking through them and stuff. But anyway, here we've got, this is the Destroy Nest. One thing I did want to mention about this was, remember when we were out and I was talking about the Titan in oh fucking hell, when I was talking about the Titan in the Char Homelands and how much damage it did. This is the most damage we ever see the destroyers do to an area. This little kind of... and it is pretty bad, I'll give him that. It's pretty bad. The quest itself, you saw my team took out that guy. If you just kill the two bosses, then it will skip you through anyway. So here's the price of victory, and this is quite a moving cutscene, so enjoy. I'm going to shut up.
That's a good day's fight.
It would have been harder without the golems.
Gad and Ula got everything working just in the nick of time. Ula, I was just telling Vek about your golems.
Vek, I have bad news. It's Gad.
What's he upset about now?
He was trying to boost the power of the last golem.
What are you saying?
There was an explosion. He didn't make it. I'm sorry.
I don't understand. They hated each other. They argued all the time.
Fathers and sons argue sometimes. That doesn't mean they don't care.
My father believed in the eternal alchemy. We are all part of a larger equation. And so, we commend Gad's remains to that greater equation. His ashes return to the universe, but his knowledge remains with us.
Vek, we are all sorry.
He died the way he lived, focused on his goal and consequences be damned. A tried to warn you.
I know. I understand the need to protect the ones you love. Always remember, he gave us a great victory.
I don't know how many such victories I can stand.
So there you go. To me, I've got to say, earlier when I was doing commentary, I mentioned at the start of the mission, Gad died in the game, obviously, and I was like, oh, I doubt Vec will mind, playing off of the fact that Vec and Gad had been arguing so much. But as I said it, I was like, oh shit, actually, think of the cutscene at the end. What are you saying? It's kind of sad, isn't it? I like the music there. If you ask me, that's like the hidden gem of character deaths, as weird as that sounds, in Guild Wars, because like everybody thinks of Rurik, and Rurik wasn't that sad, but it was a significant moment. You know, when the game came out, not many people had seen like actual deaths or plot twists in an MMO, or so that was that's the one people always think of, Rurik, and obviously the big spoiler at the end where the Vizier brings him back against you, or the Undead Lich at that point brings him back against you, and you have to fight him. And obviously then you've got Menlo was a very big one as well, because he was such a prominent character. But you know, that's actually, I think that's quite good the way they did that. And you know, the line where it just mentions that their father and son is quite good, and it's really nice to look at that and sort of see how Asura treat each other. They're assholes to each other, they undermine each other all the time, but that's their way of life, you know. And in the end of the day, that doesn't mean that they don't care about each other, and that doesn't mean that they don't love each other like anyone else. It's just that that's a natural part of life, sort of making themselves seem bigger than each other, you know. So that's what the Asura are like, and I like that whole thing there with Gad dying. It's pretty cool. I like to see Arenanet trying it, despite the fact, like as I said in the previous video, how little really they've got to go with to make an actual compelling story in this game. And you know, it can give you. Do you guys feel a little bit of the shivers going on there? I don't know. It's okay. I mean, so yeah. I hope you guys enjoyed that. That's the end of the Asuran Homelands. Now there is the matter of Polymock. I'm thinking Polymock might be a bonus episode, but like I'm going to have to upload, I think, at a little bit of a faster rate as well. If I want to do all the episodes I want to do before the end, to get the Eye of North finished exactly 1 year when I started the Let's Play, you guys might be seeing a couple of faster episodes coming out. We might have like 2 episodes in like every 12 hours instead of every 24 or something like that. So basically Polymock's just been shunted to the side. You've seen Polymock anyway. I don't know how much I can really talk about more with Polymock, except the fact that in the Char Homelands, the arena you go to is basically the in-game version of the concept art there, which is really cool. So I would like to show you that. But so it might happen eventually, but yeah. That's basically this area done. Tomorrow, oh hold on, we do want to pick up the quest reward, don't we? Tomorrow, though, we will be seeing that last thing with Gwen's garden, which I know a lot of you have been talking about for a while, and I kind of regret not showing it earlier, but
Why me?
it is important, we will see it. So Mam says, these new golems will be invaluable in defending against the destroyers. We'll continue to refine them and be willing to help you. Please give the bookers, I mean humans, at your Eye of the North our warmest support. So there you go, and they even call us humans. I don't know whether Booker's... I think Booker is still in use come Guild Wars 2, actually. I remember it being mentioned quite a lot in the books. But there you go. All right, so that's everything. That's the Tarnished Coast, the Char Homelands, the Far Shiver Peaks. We'll see this extra thing with Gwen. And yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Have a wonderful day. Take care, and I will see you tomorrow. My outro is just getting longer and longer and longer and longer. See you later, guys.